After I was discharged from the Army 53 years ago, I persuaded executives at KBYU TV to allow me to spend grant money they had from the Public Broadcasting Service to document a promising discovery and opening of a quarry of dinosaur fossils in western Colorado. The initial discovery was made by two rockhounds from Delta, Colorado, Eddie and Vivian Jones. To the surprise of everyone, particularly vertebrate paleontologist Dr. James A. Jensen of Brigham Young University, the largest bones ever found were unearthed, revealing the existence of the world's largest dinosaur and many other unknown species, including ferocious meat-eaters. After months of filming, the movie The Great Dinosaur Discovery was broadcast on TV around the world. On the edge of a cliff, on the Uncompahgre Plateau, the Jones and Jensen discovery brought international acclaim. And for me as a filmmaker, numerous international awards for the program. As a creative filmmaker, I was able to tell the deeper story of a man obsessed with dinosaur fossils of enormous size, which sadly had to be stored under the football stadium at BYU, leaving him only with hope for future financing, which never came. Throughout the movie, the comical antics of the Joneses and their friends play out through life in the bone hole. Long after Dinosaur Jim had passed away, his discoveries finally came to life at the Mountain American Museum of Ancient Life at Thanksgiving Point in Lehi, Utah. One young man who recently saw this film online commented, "Thank you so much for posting this. Ed and Vivian are my great-grandparents. I enjoyed watching with my grandfather."
I used to go into the mountains as a boy looking for fossils, and then I would dream I had discovered dinosaur bones. And in my dreams I would come upon these vast deposits of enormous bones, and I could even run around and identify them. But then I would awaken and find it was only a dream. There was a man who was born in a town of humble ways and means, dreaming dreams and acting out scenes, filled his childhood days. The older he grew, the harder he dreamed, until there came a day when childhood dreams and all those things grew into reality. He went to the mountain, found pages of the earth. They were crying out for someone to read them to the world. One page told of beauty, another told of strength, and it left in fascination as one page told the story of giants in the land. Oh, I just came by to see what's going on here. How's everything?
That's pretty good. Hey, Eddie.
Well, hello, by golly, you're looking good.
Yeah, well, so are you two.
Sniffing for dinosaur bones.
Well, I've got to see what's going on over in this part of the world.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Take your hat off and stay a while.
Well, I've been over to Canyon City, and I thought I'd drop in and see what's going on here.
Well, dang it.
How's everybody?
Oh, Oh, pretty good. How's your family?
Well, okay. I've been out in the field quite a bit this summer.
Hey, you darn well.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck's that?
Look any good?
Oh, I found that last spring, and I was saving it till you came around because I didn't know what it was.
You know what that is?
Yeah, that's why she picked it up.
You know what it is? That's a giant carnivore toe bone. Boy, that's a big one. Now, the one I mounted at BYU, you've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
The same bone on its hind foot would be about that long. In other words, it would scarcely be as long as this is wide.
Are you sure you're not ringing?
You got any more of this stuff? Where'd you get it?
Well, we found it last spring. It was up around
Where's that?
Dry Mesa.
You've got something here that's as big as Tyrannosaurus rex, which doesn't occur until 80 million years later in Earth's history. And here it's down in the Morrison.
You're not exaggerating now.
Oh, no. Eddie, I wouldn't exaggerate, you know that. Well, here's the proof right here. You found it. Did you get any more material? Was there any leg material? Or?
Yeah, we brought some more scrap stuff.
Go get what you got. Let's have a look at it. Man, that's tremendous. Wow.
You remember where we put it?
No, it's out there somewhere, though. That's a darn Mexican. It's hard to tell.
Boy.
Gee, I don't remember that.
That's very much junk. I don't know whether we'll ever find it.
You found it yet?
Oh, no. We'll find it.
I don't know how you can find anything in here, Eddie.
Yeah, it's rough.
That's an interesting chunk of bone.
We haven't found this yet. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh, Vivian does a good job on that. Looks like it's opalized.
Oh, here it is.
This water hop brings it out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's this.
Boy, that's a carnivore sacral.
Here's another one like it.
Yeah, those go together.
Huh?
Don't good.
This is the top here. The neural cord runs through like this, and the side of the hips are on both sides of it.
Is that
How
correct?
about going up there?
When do you want to go?
Well, the sooner the better. How soon?
Now?
Crying out loud.
Well, we've got just about enough time to get up there. How far?
That's not too far.
I've learned from past experience that when Eddie says it isn't very far, you've got to be prepared for a long drag.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's only about a quarter of a mile. No, I don't think we'll need one, Jim.
Okay.
Going through here, I think we can get there.
Thing when you come in the first time, Eddie?
I don't know, Jim, but I kind of think it is. Think we're getting close, Jim. Looks pretty familiar. Yeah, I found the toe bone right on around the hill there, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah, there's some chunks here. Well, there's a...
Yeah, he's junk under here.
What's that?
There. What is it?
Well, that's an end of a... Hey, that's the end of a vertebrae. See this thing sticking up here? That's the sandstone the sand that filled the spinal cord cavity.
That fits right in there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's a big
In life, that would be the spinal cord. Look, the bone's dribbling all the way down this slope. The best way to find the layer where it's coming from, see this here? This is highest part. Now this bone never rolls uphill, so you find the highest point of bone, and that's right here. Do you see anything above here? And then dig in, dig a little trench like this. We just dig down through the loose upper surface to see where it's in place. Go like this. I'll just carry this on up the ways here. Now there's a white layer, yellow, getting into this. Look now, here, I think this looks good. You know that bone occurs in this kind of gravelly material more often than not. Yeah, here's a piece. Here it is.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah, you're getting into the level of it.
Look, it runs over this way. The level probably goes right along here.
Yeah,
Let me scrape this off here.
Uh-oh. Looks like you found
It's not rock.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
You
let
get
me
it out.
do it.
On back in the bank. Look at that.
Hey,
See
wow,
the shaft
Eddie.
comes out. This
So
is
it goes.
This is the joint end here. I don't know if that's a femur or not. If so, this is the knee end. Let's see how
Well done.
far back.
I don't know how you do
lucky,
it.
you're lucky.
Oh, well, this is spreading out here.
Hey, Eddie, look at this.
Yeah.
See how it's flaring out? You know what that looks like?
Oh, Christ.
Boy, it is a bone.
Now, see how it's expanding here? That looks like a great big tibia. I have to get down to the...
Oh, look at the size of that.
That's a dandy.
Yeah. You didn't...
I don't know how you do it.
I guess that toe bone isn't the only one this year, Jim, anyway.
I could tell almost immediately that this was going to be one of the most exciting quarries I had ever worked. Accordingly, we made plans for a big quarry operation the following spring. Eddie made arrangements for a road, if you can call it that. And as usual, our excitement got us there far too early. I'm glad Doug was along with his chainsaw and crowbar to help get me over his dad's so-called road. But unfortunately, the rocks, mud, and broken limbs are more than a match for the axle of my poor old trailer house.
The edge of the hill comes along like this. The road you built comes in like this. We're about right here. I'm going to put my trailer house in here. This canyon over here, and the one running up that direction, the opposite wall goes up like this, and we have the canyon coming down. Here's a little farm down below with the old deserted farmhouse. Creek comes down like this, and then goes on down the main canyon. Now the bone layer goes down along the hill this way. And you come down with your cat, Doug, and push that off. Okay, now, in profile, to give you an idea of how the cut will be made in the side of the hill, let's draw a profile here. We'll cut in the bone layer, goes along about like this. Right here is where Eddie and Vivian found the first toe bone. Now we'll cut in with the cat, starting up here, cut down like this, just above, ending just above the bone layer. This material here will be removed and pushed out over the edge. Different than any quarry we worked before. We'll have you come in here carefully and peel this off. Ken and I'll watch.
Want to go down just a bit of the
Yeah, just a few inches at the most. A couple of inches, you know, that's pretty hard on a machine that size.
We made an opening along the side of the mountain more than 300 feet long. At one point, about 6 feet below the surface, the blade turned up our first fragment of bone. Coincidentally, several feet below this very spot, we discovered the greatest concentration of bone in the quarry.
We've got a bone here. I mean, a piece of bone. Looks like it peeled into the top edge of something. It's dark brown in structure there. Yeah, it's dark brown in color. There's an external surface here. Some kind of muscle scar right there. And this is probably the topmost bone in the deposit.
Few people realize the tremendous problems and hard work of a dinosaur quarry, and even fewer people are willing to stay with it all summer. The blistering hot sun, the swarms of gnats, dusty wind blowing in one ear and out the other is more than they can take.
Aha! Yes, it does. You get a mind that gets on people's nerves. This bone's laying here for millions of years. It's been protected by the rock that it's in. But once we get it uncovered like this, it's necessary to harden it up with shellac. The shellac soaks into the grain of the bone. And after it's been shellacked, hardened up well, then the thing will be plastered out. Yeah, I see what Ken's doing here.
Hi.
Hi.
Putting a mud coat on this old femur. It
Really?
holds all these tiny little fragments and slivers right in place so that they don't get lost. They're just exactly the same place they were when we found it.
How do you make that mud, Ken?
I screen out fine sand and mix it with water and then put in plaster to make it set up either very hard or not quite so hard. I use different amounts of plaster depending on the bone, on the condition of the bone.
Quite an operation to get these old bones out.
We put a tissue paper separator over this mud. Now, it isn't really necessary. It's just kind of like double insurance, just to make sure that the plaster jacket comes off. I can get some plaster mixed up here and get a jacket on that thing, maybe. This is a nice gooey job.
Yuck.
Soak these up good so that they...
Yeah, I'll bet that poor old dinosaur didn't know he was going to be treated that nice.
Put a cast on him. The most important thing about this job is to get it tucked really well under this bone.
This area over here where we began work has already produced evidence of 2 new species. Now that makes the quarry worth it, just that alone. 1 new species justifies the quarry. That we have represented a long bone here of a herbivore, and just a few feet away is part of the pelvis of a carnivore. Now, neither one of those can be found in any of the scientific literature I have. In fact, I'm quite well acquainted with this type carnivore that is similar, and this is something new. Over in this area here, we have some limb bones of another carnivore, and we found some crocodile teeth there and some turtle shell fragments.
Yeah, I don't think we can go up there. That thing's getting hot.
Well, Eddie said it was only 2 hours. We're almost there.
Well, you can't tell an awful lot about what he says anyhow.
Oh, come on, let's go on.
Well, that's the way you feel about it. Well, we'll go. Yeah, if y'all hadn't took us off on that big wild goose chase, we'd have just about been there by now.
Here's the Dry Mesa road sign. Isn't that where we're supposed to turn?
Wonder how much further it is, Bill.
Eddie says it's just a little way. Just go down just a spell and you're there, he says.
Well, the countries look the same all the way. I don't know how we know where we were. How many miles is it after we leave the sign?
Well, Eddie says about 6. Great day in the morning. How in the world are they gonna know we can get back up if we don't try it? Got to go down first. You ready to go?
Ready.
Well, okay, you guys wanted it, so you're about to get it.
Well, this hill looks awful steep.
That blasted Eddie's gonna...
Don't go so fast.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, and I may hit this dad blasted stump if I don't get right over the middle of it. It did tip it, too.
It did hit it. What do you suppose is around the corner? Watch these rocks.
I'm watching. Ruin a dadgum car just to come out and see a bunch of darned old bones. I wonder where in the hill we're at. I think it's a dad-blasted shame that them dinosaurs couldn't have died somewhere along a highway or something without coming plumb out in the woods like this. Great balls of fire. Did you see the rig he brought in here? That's Eddie's, ain't it? Well, this is about the only trail I see away from camp, so I guess the bone pile's down this way. I guess that's part of
Somebody just
Jim's.
must be Jim's camp.
Well, I'll swear, look, he's got his trailer in here, too. How on earth?
This is quite an outfit here.
Isn't it? Well, I guess we're better sign. I bet there hadn't been many people up here. I wish you would look at here. I'll swear, I bet there's 20 pages.
Good heavens. Well, how'd they get through?
Now, that's what I'd like to know. Here's a guy here from Japan.
Does that take for you to dug out them more than 4 months?
About 4 months, from April until the last of August.
Oh,
But we make use of all kinds of modern equipment, like the air compressor there.
yes, like that.
We have air chisels. And we
The excitement I felt that day at the Joneses, when I first saw that huge carnivore toe bone, was now justified. For we had discovered enough additional material of this strange meat-eating creature to attract worldwide attention.
Right in this area right here is where we found most of this large carnivore material. And I'll lay it out here to compare with the known form. The humerus, ulna, radius, and by comparison, here's the tremendous humerus of the new form. Notice the shaft is straight, whereas an antrodemus it has quite a curve to it. This is the most distinguishing characteristic about it. Now the ulna here for the new one and radius. Now, one of the dramatic things is the short length of the ulna. Notice on antrodemus, the ulna is 3/4 the length of the humerus. In this case, the new form, it's only half the length of the humerus.
Certainly.
Besides that, when comparing the two, notice it's shorter than the known form, but much heavier, much stronger naturally. So we would say, in describing this as a new genus, that this form has an extremely short forearm, which gives it tremendous power when being used. Now, in the book here, let's look at the figure. We have an illustration of the complete skeleton of the known form, antrodemus. Below is an artist's concept of how it looked in life, feeding on part of a larger dinosaur beneath it. Now, the differences between this and what I found is primarily a very short forearm. Mine has a claw on the forehand here, which is 12.5 inches long. We have also discovered the lower jaw of this new form. It has only half the number of teeth this form has. This means it'll have a very short skull, which in a way has something mechanically to do with the very short forearm. We've also found part of the hips, and they also have different characteristics. This is one of the most interesting discoveries that's been made in the Jurassic, in this part of the world at least, for the last 50 years.
What do we got, Sal?
Stew! I mean the good kind.
How much? You say when?
A little more meat on it. Suffering cat. The first bone I've seen with any kind of juice on it.
Dinosaur bone. You know, what's that also? That's a mammal.
I want to give you one of my little specials here.
You ever had any down with little banana peppers?
No.
I heard that. It looks like you haven't picked very much.
Hold that there, will you, please? Oh. Let me get her tied on here. You can start the music.
What in the dick is going on anyway?
Now it's time to get up.
Oh, you dirty so-and-so. You old bone diggers. I need a little sleep around here.
Oh, that's Barman. Oh, when a fella needs a friend.
I'll be right there for you.
Oh, thank you. You would anyway.
Oh, you got it on level this time, I can.
Well, I tell you,
2 pair of socks.
yeah, some of us poor loggers can't afford one fat pair.
So you don't wash your face.
She never touches your face, don't you know that?
What we hope to do here is to find the complete skeleton of a giant dinosaur. We found part of it, and we hope here in this quarry to find the rest of it. Now, one time there were countless thousands of these things roaming around the earth. In fact, they were all different sizes, just as you see animals today on earth. Although they've been buried deep in the earth, mountain building and canyons being cut as you see here exposes some of the layers that contain these bones. And we find them along areas such as the side of this hill here. In fact, we have about 15 different varieties of animals. Do you have that many on your farm? It's been estimated by an international scientist that all the animals that we know on the earth today, plus all the fossil forms that have been found, all together only make about 3% of the total different kinds that have lived on the earth in the past. So you see how much work we've got to do. And this quarry is part of that work. Why don't you come up this way and see what we have in this part of the quarry? Visitors to the quarry were interested to learn that in addition to the giant carnivore, we had also discovered parts of an enormous sauropod, a plant-eating dinosaur, which later proved to be the largest dinosaur ever found on Earth. We thus set a record to this point in man's knowledge, for this was also the greatest animal that ever walked the Earth. This is the pelvis of an enormous dinosaur. I'm spanning the width of it, the left side and the right side. This is the middle line here. The tail would go back between my legs. Now the spines that stick up in the middle, such as you have down your back, are lying here, and if you were to raise them up and stand them here, they'd be in a normal position. They were crushed during burial. This bone sticking out here, that's this corner of your hip right here, the left corner. Now from this corner to that one over there, which is broken off, is 6 feet. So if his hips are 6 feet wide, then his stomach is forward of that, you see. And his head would be, in this case, somewhere around 45 or more feet above the ground. We have some vertebrae of this dinosaur in another part of the quarry, and some of them are 40 inches long, one vertebrae. This part right here is where the spinal column fastens on. That's part of the vertebrae right there, and the spinal cord went through this little hole right here. Some of you gentlemen have never been in a dinosaur quarry before, but I know some of you have collected dinosaur bone. Now the kind of bone you find withered out on the surface of the ground looks different than what you see here, right? I'm glad you came up today because I want to make contact with as many people like yourselves as I can. Ranchers and hunters, Now, when you're riding out looking for some old cow, you go across a lot of bare ground, and on the hillside you might spot a piece of bone. And if you wouldn't mind stopping, getting off your horse and having a look at it, you might discover a location that might produce material like we have here. And besides, if you find a new animal, we might name it after you.
Pretty hot over here, Jim.
Because most dinosaur bones are radioactive, Eddie had been dragging his Geiger counter around the quarry for several weeks, continually announcing new hot spots. I brushed him off as usual, for his finds were always far ahead of the spot being excavated. This time, however, my son Jim was convinced Eddie may have pinpointed something unusual, so he began work at the spot and uncovered something which amazed the entire world.
Hey, look at this, Kim. What in the world have you got there? I don't know, but it's huge.
One solid bone.
How big?
Oh, 8 feet long.
That's about the body.
No, it is. Wait till you
It's
see it.
that big. There's no bone that big.
How about that?
Hey, you weren't kidding, were you?
Yeah, I'm from Missouri, and I see it, and I still can't believe it.
No, that's
the biggest bone that's ever
That's
been
probably
found,
the biggest single bone, length of bone that anyone's seen on Earth.
It must be.
Isn't that tremendous?
Gosh, that's unbelievable, Jim. Is there any animal that could have had anything like that, Jim?
Well, that big pelvis down there, it's just like a
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Oh, for crying out
It isn't
loud.
quite 8 feet long, though, is it, really?
It is.
Huh?
It is big.
You gotta measure it. Your cane, well, you got 3 feet on your cane there.
Getting close, getting close. Vivian, don't do that, by gracious sakes alive.
Your feet are a foot.
You know better than that.
You're going to set the full length of that. We're going to have to get a hold of both ends of you and pull.
Wait a minute.
We might do it that way.
Yeah,
The whole length of
yeah,
that
but
thing.
your feet are clear down here. That's large enough to go with that tremendous 6-foot pelvis we have down there. You'd have to have a scapula like this, Eddie, to carry all that.
Look at the width of that thing.
That's right. Well, you had to have enough strength to carry all that weight.
Jeez.
That big carcass standing on its front leg, all the weight of this tremendous animal rests on that. The front end of the 60-ton animal.
60 tons.
Yeah, 60 tons.
Well, let's touch it a little bit, pretty close.
Yeah, 60 tons, 100 pounds more or less. But anyway,
How high?
well, about 50 feet probably. You'd be 60 feet long, but it'd stand about 50 feet tall because of the weight, or the height. With these long neck vertebrae. It was like a giraffe. These neck vertebrae, remember that how thin it was?
Yeah.
That vertebrae is built like a Japanese lantern. It's made for being held high in the air. So the front legs are the same length as the back ones, made it easy for him to travel over land, like a big wheeled vehicle.
Man, if you ever got a sore throat, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. We're about 100-foot station here, and it's in this area that we've been getting that big new carnivore. And it has that unique feature of having a very short forearm and apparently a very short skull.
Word of our discoveries reached various large institutions, resulting in visits from several prominent vertebrate paleontologists.
Here and here and there, here, a string of tail vertebrae there, one here and here, a couple of here and over here. Now, the stream flow was in this direction, fortunately parallel to the bank, which is here. So we expect to find more of this big carnivore down in this area or back in here.
So this blank area will be your area of exploration for next year.
Yes, that's right. The bones drawn in here represent the maximum amount we've discovered and will collect this year. And this bare space will be opened up next season.
You know, Bill, it's a quarry and a half.
I bet you wish you could stay here a month. I'll do it.
There's 200 feet more of the quarry here. I'd like to take you down and show you where we got that big pelvis, and also where we started digging first. Kind of be careful when you fall down off this ledge here. There's some bones sticking out right there. There's a funny looking pad there showing, I don't know what that is.
Jim, I was looking at your quoting.
I just can't believe this quarry. It's fantastic. There's so much bone that's just, the ground is so easy to work.
When I came out here, I was quite astounded because of the size, the magnitude, and what a spectacular quarry it is. There's about, I'd say, a half dozen major Morrison dinosaur quarries. This compares with any of the greatest quarries known so far.
We've gotten this area down to almost a solid mass of bone. Some of it we can identify, some we can't.
Or it has the potential, which might be proven by Jim in the next couple of years, depending on how long he works this thing out, to be one of the greatest and most major Jurassic vertebrate quarries in the world.
Now the scapula with the coracoid here, which is 8 feet long, is going to be difficult to collect because it's lying on various other bones. In fact, the bone layer goes down about 3 more feet below the scapula. I don't know yet exactly how we're going to get that out of here.
Well, after having seen the news in the paper and so forth, I don't think I was ready for something absolutely astonishing, but as usual with Jim's quarries, this just beat anything. It was just tremendous, my gosh. I think, scientifically speaking, the most exciting thing is the new carnivore, because that seems to me to be absolutely unexpected for the Morrison. People have been finding the Antrodemus or Allosaurus, and they've been finding Ceratosaurus, but to find an absolutely brand new carnivore in the Morrison at this time, after all the material that's been taken out, is really very surprising, and gee, it is astonishing. Now, to me personally, of course, the sauropods are what I am more interested in, and so my heart, I must admit, beats a good deal faster when I look at the great big scapula and the huge cervical vertebrae, neck vertebrae that go with it.
That isn't all one vertebrae, is it? That you and him are looking at down in the bottom.
That is one neck vertebra.
That's a cervical.
A cervical, right.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely immense. It's very, very possible and very likely, I think, that this new animal is the largest, because the scapula is just absolutely so much bigger than anything I've ever seen and that I've ever even heard of.
Welcome to Dinosaur National Monument and its fossil bone quarry.
As far as I know, there are only 2 other quarries from which sauropod bones are being taken at the present time. One of them is, of course, the great Dinosaur National Monument outside of Vernal, Utah. This is an absolutely magnificent quarry, of course, has been the finest quarry from which dinosaurs and sauropod dinosaurs in particular have ever been found. But the material from this quarry and some of the other great dinosaur quarries is essentially the same types of dinosaurs. And these dinosaurs now are, for the most part, quite well known. Now, the exciting thing about Jim's quarry is that they're getting new material that was not even suspected. This makes this quarry simply very, very exciting, because after all of the many quarries that have been worked, here one has Jim's quarry with a new carnivore, perhaps several new sauropods, and heaven only knows what else is likely to come out before he's through.
Okay, you ready back there? We'll go over easy now.
This is the pelvis of the world's largest dinosaur, the new sauropod we had discovered. Several days were required to enclose these bones in a protective case of plaster and wooden ribs. Cut free from its ancient tomb, the pelvis now weighs more than 3 tons.
runners so that we can turn the block over and drag it on this.
Our winch truck was custom built according to my own design, and although it generally loaded itself, this enormous block would rear the truck over backwards in such an attempt. Therefore, it was necessary to place supporting blocks beneath the truck. To simply drag this enormous weight across the quarry floor to a loading point required all the power of the truck's 5-ton winch.
Hardest spot in the whole hill. Stop. Okay, here it comes.
I think that'll do it. Get on it. Right over here. Yeah. So, next to that. Yeah, hang up there.
This was the beginning of the long job of hauling nearly 18 tons of material down from our 7,500-foot elevation to the museum nearly 300 miles away. Each round trip would require 3 days. At the museum, the blocks would be cataloged and stored, hopefully to be studied, named, and mounted for the world to see.
Take a meter reading here and check it out. Okay.
Is this okay for this?
That's fine. I'm going to use this flash because there's a little shadow. Okay, here you go. Looks good. 1, 2, 3.
Sure you want to put this picture in your paper?
All the people are very interested in old bones like this.
You mean mine or these?
These.
The world is interested in the world's largest anything. With the discovery of the world's largest dinosaur, we were soon visited by reporters, photographers, and magazine writers from all over the country. The story was spread by international wire services. The TV stations called my wife at home, seeking an interview, and were exasperated when told I was not available. They continued to question her about when I'd be available. Her only answer was that she didn't know when I would return. With such international attention, our quarry became the destination of a great variety of visitors, ranging from housewives to corporate executives.
Back here, we have a bone that's been chewed on by the carnivore. And on this end, at this angle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the teeth marks went across this way. And they were probably as sharp as my ice pick.
Can I have a picture of that, Jim?
Certainly, yes. There are also some teeth on the backside because the animal grasped it like this, with upper and lower jaws. Now, there are a couple of interesting bones here for comparison. These are out of the foot of a herbivore. This is a medium-sized herbivore. This one is a very large one. These 2 bumps here correspond with those 2 bumps there. So this goes with the herbivore that has the 8-foot scapula and the 6-foot wide pelvis. The miscellaneous bones we find in this part of the quarry represent various different animals. And although some of them are large, like a very big rib here, we do have one here, thing here that's very interesting. This small bone, when we found it, the piece was missing. We filled it in with plaster to show the entire length. This is a metatarsal of what I call a feathered reptile. This creature was very fast running, had long legs, 3 powerful toes, and was a feathered creature, although it was still a reptile. This animal would be something like 4.5 feet tall, with a relatively long neck
not unlike an ostrich, and a covering of feathers, thick down feathers like those that the ostrich has. And one of the interesting things about this bone, like all bird bones, it's very hollow. You see this centerpiece right here? There's a little bit of calcite in there that fills the entire tube inside of the bone. This animal, as far as I'm concerned, was one of the ancestors of the group, which includes ostriches.
Now, would you please follow me down to the quarry? Escalante Creek, lying 2,000 feet below us there, has carved its way down through those towering sandstone cliffs you see across the canyon. You're now standing in the Morrison Formation, where many dinosaur remains were buried. Keep coming, keep coming. Approximately 140 million years ago, during what is known as the Jurassic period of Earth history, gradually sloping upland, rising to the west, together with a copious rainfall, produced a vast lacework of meandering rivers in a broad floodplain environment. This was suitable for the transportation and burial of the incredibly huge carcass of the world's largest dinosaur.
Hey, is anybody here? Yoo-hoo!
Oh, hi there. I'll be with you in a minute. Just sign the register there, would you please? I'll be over soon. Oh, that's going to be close.
I believe this.
One of you has got it this game. I'm going to stay around to find out how this comes out.
You won't measure? Yeah, I believe you got me there. Yeah. Yeah, that's close there. Where's the other one? Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll be... I got a ringer. I wish you'd look at that.
I came up here expecting to work about 6 weeks, but I have now been here for 4 months. The more we excavate, the more bones we find, until it now appears as though it will take several years to collect all the bones we have discovered. Many years ago, when labor was cheaper, a crew could remain in a quarry like this for several years, but we can't do that because of the high cost of such an operation today. My resources are now at an end. I have even skimmed a little off the household budget. There are no funds left to continue. So now, although we are faced with the problem of work before the snow flies this year, a greater problem has developed. How are we going to excavate the thousands of bones that remain? Where will we find the backing to complete our collecting, to study these new animals and put them on display? What began as a routine quarry operation has now become an enormous crushing force against a modest budget. How did paleontologists manage in the early days? More than a half a century ago, men dug up dinosaur skeletons and saw them named and mounted in museum displays without modern equipment.
We have all kinds of modern equipment, but even as we plastered up this enormous bone, I began to suspect we may never realize the satisfaction of museum displays. We would like to remain and work indefinitely in our quarry too, but some of our sophisticated equipment is showing signs of failure as a result of the long, hard grind over the rocks and stumps of more than 3 miles of unimproved road into our site. It finally became clear to me that the quarry must now be covered up to protect the vast treasure which still remains, while we begin what might be a long, long wait for the support we need to return.
I was expecting a bulldozer.
My daddy, he once told me that dreams were things that surely could come true. I'd go up to the mountain and pretend that I discovered a new world full of treasure that was lost. Dreams that they made for dying slow without any doubt. Now that I am older and my thoughts are growing colder, why can't I build a vision of my life? Dreams that they made for crying so without any sight. Dreams that they made for dying so. When would they see the light? Without my friends and family and the good Lord that surrounds me, I'm never to see the things that might have been. Dreams that they made for crying so without any sight. Dreams that they made for dying so. When will they see the light? My daddy, he once told me that dreams were things that surely could come true. Now the day is older and the pages have turned over of history buried deep within the grave. But why can't I remain now and finish this great story? Guess I'll pack my bag